environment. It's something that I worry about a great deal. To Claudia's suggestion to keep it short, let us give thanks to our Creator for the miracle of our tiny planet. Please encourage us to find the will to protect this grain of sand in the universe for the survival of humanity. As Rachel Carson told us 61 years ago in her book, Silent Spring, in nature, nothing exists alone. In the ways in which is it the truth?
Is it fair to all?
Fair to all concerned?
Will it allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bobby has our sergeant of arms report.
It was scraping the barrel, put me in charge out here. We've got 32 members and 3 guests. We have, you want to introduce your guest, Debbie Patterson?
Yes, welcome Debbie. Debbie Patterson, we have a mutual friend. Debbie's very, very active in the Jaycees and is looking for another opportunity to serve in her community. So, welcome.
Debbie, and we have Carl Aspey, Greensboro Club. Welcome, Carl. Hey, and then Tom, you'll introduce our speaker in a little while. And we've got, hey, if you hadn't bought your tickets, the Queen Hearts is getting really juicy. We collected $52. Buster still has tickets going in on this. Over $1,000 in the pocket.
Rick. Oh, Rick's still getting to speak. We had our birthdays and anniversaries.
I actually have submitted them to memory because I have this photogenic memory. Yes. Happy Reese's and Fly. Jim had a birthday today. I think I did that last week. So
I thought I'm gonna take her some breakfast here.
oh, man, what a guy. What a guy. This man,
Happy dollars. Everybody happy dollars?
Roll right.
Come on, Buster.
Happy dollars, baby. With my breakfast. Well, I don't think we have any money for Happy Dollars because everybody claimed they didn't bring any money. Rob mentioned.
So, several months ago, when we came to Star Mount, I had a dollar about my first JC. Excuse me. Thank you. I had a happy dollar about my first JC meeting there. Prior to that, when I was a young buck, I just graduated from Appalachian State, came back home to Greensboro, I wanted to get involved in the business community. My dad was always in Rotary. And I said, you know, that Rotary's for old men and fathers and mothers. And so he said, well, why don't you go to the Jaycees? And I said, well, I don't know anybody at the Jaycees. He said, well, why don't you go by and see Bob and Bain at Bain Oil? And I thought, well, yeah, I go there because I was a kid. I was working with my dad, and I would service their mailing machine, postage. And I said, Bob Bain scares the hell out of me. He's intimidating. And he said, no. And so I got up my courage and I went in there and said, hey, Mr. Bain. And he was like, hey. And I said, thanks about getting the Jaycees. And it was like the sun came over the mountain. And he took me under his arm. I might be yeah, a little bit. But he brought me over and he introduced me to some people at the Jaycees, and then I was a Jaycee. So, thank you, Mr. Bain.
I have one. I'm blessed to have both my parents still living. Both of them, I guess, are thriving. My dad doesn't remember how old he is, but he's celebrated his 89th birthday yesterday.
All right, yeah, we had a great cleanup last week. Nancy led us out there, we cleaned up some trash and did a great job. And,
Everybody.
Oh, there you go.
You get a dollar, you back, man.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I see.
Yeah.
Well, you know your nephews are getting older when your wife says, hey, listen to this podcast came out from the Motley Fool. And your nephew's on there talking about investments and
Oh, wow.
businesses that he's following. So my nephew's on the Motley Fool.
All right.
Well, Grand Rapids was in line at Costco. Has one of the giant 100-pound active dog food. Grand Rapids said, "God, that was really big dog." And the guy said, well, actually, no, this is for me. And he said, I've got this new diet. He said, every morning I just fill my pockets with dog food and just throughout the day, if I get hungry, I'll just eat a few. He said, before I went into the hospital, I'd lost 100 pounds. And they said, well, hospital, they said, did you get poisoned with the dog food? I said, no. He said, I stepped off the curb to pee on a fire hydrant and got hit by a car.
I just wanted to let you guys know who's on deck for the invitation schedule. So Dale Carroll is next Thursday, the 29th. Lee Farley, August 6th. Dale Farlow, the 12th, and then Matthew Foster, you're not the 12th, but I wrote down 12th. So it's on the list that I emailed out a couple weeks ago, and I'm trying to get the whole club admin thing down pat. So I will shoot you a text or give you a call or email you as a reminder.
Christie?
I just want to make a quick announcement. Out of the Garden Project is having a summer concert series. We had our first one back in May. We have our second one coming up next Thursday evening, which is July 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. It's in our parking lot of the church where our warehouse location is. We have Stacy Street from Savory Street that's going to be doing dinner for us. Chad Eby and David Lynn are going to be the performers. We have South End Brewery that's going to be providing beverage, and then Starbucks is going to do a coffee. So, yeah.
Want to say I went to it. They do an awesome job. It's very fun. It's good entertainment dollars, and it goes for good cause.
Yeah.
And
Long chairs.
No, chairs are provided. We have lawn chairs for everybody. And actually, if it gets too hot, or if it's storming, we're going to move inside. So, yes.
So I'm planning to go next, I think it's next Thursday.
It's
right?
next Thursday,
Would
yes.
like to get a group to go, so if you're interested, and I'll try to send.
Yeah, we have a QR code that I'll send out that you can just go on our website and sign up.
It sounds like a great time for great calls. So, any other announcements? So I would like to take a few minutes before Tom introduces our speaker. I have some news to share with the club, and so I want to inform you of some recent developments within our club. I received an email from Dan Quinn on Monday morning of this week, informing me that Dan, Mike Conrad, and Ralph Jones are planning to leave Gate City Rotary and form a new Rotary club. At the last minute, I agreed to allow Dan to address the board on Tuesday morning of his new club idea. As you can imagine, many of you probably feel this way. this news was not well received by Gate City's board. Dan assured us the recruitment efforts would not include current Gate City Rotarians, and that this new club was all about growing Rotary and re-engaging former members. After much discussion, your board reluctantly blessed Dan's initiative to grow Rotary. It is my understanding that many Gate City members, as well as District Governor Chris Justice, were invited to hear of this initiative prior to our board meeting discussion on Tuesday morning. While it is unfortunate and disappointing, this wasn't a more collaborative and transparent process. It is not productive for me or others in this room to exert energy questioning the intent or motivation behind this initiative. Let us be reminded, and we hear this often from our great Judge Hassel, that Rotary is an international service organization whose stated purpose is to bring together business and professional leaders in order to provide humanitarian service and to advance goodwill and peace around the world. It is a non-political and non-religious organization that is open to all. So let's keep that in mind in this club. We all cite the four-way test every week. In fact, we just did that. Are these just words? What do they mean to you? Ask yourself, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? The four-way test should be our compass for how we live and work as Rotarians in our community. I was installed as your president for the 21-22 year, and I intend to keep my commitment to you regardless of the intended or unintended consequences of this new club. I ask you to do the same. You have a choice. Will you continue to support the current leadership of this club and not let personal or political differences get in the way of why we all come together every Thursday, which is to serve others in our community and across the world? Let's put this behind us and focus our energy on using this as an opportunity to grow Gate City Rotary. I'm happy to meet with you one-on-one to discuss ideas on how to accomplish this. I want to thank you for your support. And at this time, I would like to invite Tom up to introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Mayor. Bobby Bain, he walked in the door, about 10 people were in line to talk to him, so he doesn't really need a lot of introduction. And this guy is a legend when it comes to service above self. He's been involved with the GGO and the Wyndham tournament for well over 40 years. He joined the Jaycees back in the mid-70s and was a green coder GGO chairman in '82. He predates me slightly. I was in the late 80s and 90s of the club. There's 1,000 members strong, and Kmart came in and everybody was just, money was flowing. So he's seen it through the ebbs and flows, good and bad times. You talk about a guy who's been president of everything, president of the Boys and Girls Club, Greensboro Crime Stoppers, the Western chapter of Alzheimer's Association, president of Greensboro Rotary Club. I think he's the secretary there now. He's an NC State grad. He has a BS and Master's in Industrial Engineering. Married 25 years to Dickie and has 2 daughters and a son who's also Rotary. So Bobby's going to talk about the Jaycees and the GGO. Give us a little history.
Thank you, Tom. I've been called a lot of things, but I never knew I was intimidated. Now, if y'all ever meet my wife, Vicki, that's intimidating. There's a question about it. 52 in our family, she's one of the top of the list. I want to talk a little bit about how the GGO got started with the Jaycees. Before I do that, I've got a history book that I had written in 1982 that takes us from 1938 to 1982. And I'm going to pass this around. There's some great pictures in here. You can just, look through it and pass it to the next table, but I do want this back. I'll have one copy. Now, I won't get into the detail of what happened prior to 1938, but a lot of different Gothic-related things took place in Greensboro. There were some pro matches with people like Sam Snead, and I think Ben Hogan came here as part of that. And anyway, the bug got in the ear of the Jaycees. And the Jaycees wanted something to really do to make them shine. And so they were told the club pro here was related to the PGA official to make this happen. And the Jaycees got word that if they could raise $5,000 and put it in the bank, that would be the person they could have a tournament the next year in 1938. Now, that sounds like chicken feed to us here. And you make that on a fundraiser on any given weekend. But if you put that in today's dollars, that's about $95,000. Some person came up to you and said, let's have a tennis tournament, let's let Crescent Rotary Club sponsor that. Pass a hat and try to come up with $95,000, you might have a hard time. So these guys really had their work cut out. So the first person they went to was Mr. Benjamin, who owned the Strongman Forest Country Club, built it. Quick story there, he tried to join Greensboro Country Club because he was Jewish, they wouldn't let him in. This is 1932 or so. So he said, well, by golly, I'll just build my own golf course. So he did, and the Strongman became the Strongman because of that. Anyway, so he's the one that had the bucks that they went to. And he said, if you guys could raise $4,000, I'll put it up for the last $1,000. So the JC board voted on it, and they thought, and they defeated the thing in the first vote. And then some of the members didn't want to take no financials, so they called different JCs on the phone to get $25 pledges from their membership. And they raised, on paper, close to $800. And that was enough seed to make the JCs know that this might actually happen. And then went to a couple of hotels, they raised $5,000, and then it's history. Sam Snead comes over here, young 24, 25-year-old guy that knocked it a mile, never had a lesson in his life, comes here, wins the thing, and wins all of $1,200. Again, that same little, but these are $1938. Now, when he did come here in 1938, a few years later, my dad was chairman in 1950, which was 12 years later. I was just 2 years old, but Sam wanted somebody to go fishing with, so he goes to the head pro at Strongman again, and the head pro said, they go for it, Carson Bain, the best fisherman probably in Strongman. So they got on a boat and went fishing and just had a grand old time and built a friendship for years. Now, I'm growing up as a little kid, 6, 7 years old, and I realized this guy comes to our house every year in April. Don't know who he is, don't know much about golf or anything, but I know this guy's a golfer, it's Sam Snead. So I grew up with Sam, and stayed in my house all these years. And I just, as a kid, I didn't think much about that. Looking back on that, wow, that's just pretty impressive. And as a matter of fact, when I was 16, Sam came over for dinner. He quit staying with us when my sister and I got a little bit older because it just didn't apply to his lifestyle very well. And so anyway, I'm at the dinner table with Sam, and we just got the pool table downstairs about 6 months earlier. And I said, Sam, probably intimidating to me to call him that. I said, Sam, I know you're a pretty good golfer, but I'm a pretty good pool player. He said, well, that's nice. I said, well, matter of fact, after dinner, let's go downstairs and see what you got. So you're a 16-year-old, beat his chest and all that. So we go downstairs, and I'm getting ready to lag and shoot a game of 8-ball. And Sam says, no, son, where I come from, the guest is the one that breaks. So I racked it, he broke. I didn't get a shot. So he looked over at me, walks over to me, hands me the pool cue. He said, you got any other game sport? So I don't know, to this day, I think I might be as good as you, how would we ever know? So it's just a handout organization. Something else Sam would do, and this amazed me as a young child. He would stand on one foot, stand on his left foot, and put his right foot behind his head, and not have any pain or whatever, and drink a glass of milk. I mean, never said anything. He won a lot of money in bars without the pros doing this. He had no joint restriction whatsoever. So when he goes back to make a tournament golf, I mean, you and I do that, it starts like your mouth starts hurting. But he would do it, he could turn all the way around and look at it. And so, again, it was just a natural gift that he was given. And he had that non-restricted in any of his joints whatsoever. So that went on and made him, I think, one of the greatest golfers in the world for doing that. Now, he went on to win this tournament 8 times. And actually, in his later years, we brought him here, flew him in here to name the tournament, and name the trophy, the Sam City Trophy. I mean, you win it 8 times, by God, you ought to get your name on it. Sam, in his later years, developed a little bit of memory issues. I'm sure he had Alzheimer's. I love these corn boxes on the table, because that's a charity place in my heart too. My dad had Alzheimer's last month of his life. Sam comes up here, we picked him up at the airport, bringing him Airstone now. The club pro said, please let me join y'all if y'all have lunch. So we did. And Sam, Dad, and me, and the club pro. We're just having, cheese sandwich and a beer or whatever. And Sam says, I think we need a joke here. And I'm gonna tell this just real quickly. So Sam said, well, there's this guy sitting on a park bench, an older man. He had his head in his hands. He was crying. He was all upset, bewildered. And this young female jogger comes running by. She sees him and she stops. She says, sir, what could possibly be wrong? Can I help you with anything? He said, I've made a lot of money all my life. I have plenty of money in the bank. I've been successful and have a lot of freedoms. And he just kept crying. She said, well, that sounds good. What could be wrong? He said, I've also got a beautiful wife. She loves me to death. And I just told her that she keeps crying. And she said, sir, you have all the money you need, a beautiful wife that loves you. What's the matter? He said, I don't remember where I live. So Sam tells that joke. And my father, who was in the early stages of Alzheimer's, he said, that reminds me of the joke. This is downstairs in this clubhouse. And he told the same joke. So the bird looked up at me and said, so Sam, true story, he said, well, Carson, that reminds me of the story. We get to hear it the 3rd time. Well, Roy shakes his head. He said, Bobby, I need to get back to the shop and do some work. I said, I wish I could. But anyway, Dad also played in the pro am scene. And Dad's rules of golf weren't exactly the same as what you see on television. His ball went in the woods and didn't always stay there. Your ball went in the woods and didn't always stay there either. He also had a habit of making a clump, teeing his ball up on it, hit it no matter where it is, rough fairways, anyway. That was golf for Dad, so if you played with him, you just had to understand that. But Dad and Sam were playing in the pro am essentially. And of course, Dad knocks about 20 yards into the woods. And you can see the green, and Sam's over there with him looking for the ball. They see the green. Right over there, there's a little narrow tree opening, maybe 5 feet apart. And Dad can get his ball and go through that tree. He might hit the green and do some good for the team. And so Carson hit it straight sideways, get back in the fairway. Dad said, Sam, I think I got this shot. Just this little narrow, but I think I can do that. And Sam said, Carson, you had the opportunity on the tee. You hit a fairway 200 yards wide and you missed it. What makes you think you have a prayer and be able to get that ball through the hole? So, probably good advice on that. I got into Jaycees right after college, and then it was, since the GGO had been going so many years, that's what you did. I mean, if you're a young guy between 21 and 35, as you fellow Jaycees in the room know, Dale, at 35 years old and fade out because you're too old. You don't age out of this club. You die, but you don't age out. in the Jaycees old timers, which we'll get into, and that's just the thing. You just never age up, that's why they call it old timers. Talk about old men and the father, this is old men and grandfathers. But anyway, it was fun being in the club during those days. It was fun working your way up the GGO ladder. I mean, what you did, you would get on a committee, and you Jaycees would understand this. You start out, you rode at the state golf courses, you'd be carrying beer back and forth. One of y'all told me today that she was special assignment chairman back then, which means she bought all the booze and kept us happy. And sanitation engineer was the guy to collect the garbage. So anyway, you work your way up the line and eventually become chairman. And that's sort of how it was done. I mean, it's a whole different concept now. I mean, now we have a paid employee, Mark Razzle, who has been doing his job for 20 years. He makes a nice salary. He has a ton of people working for him. They're all paid, all on the payroll. And there are volunteers, but the volunteers have not one bit to do with raising money. They have not a thing to do with where the money is spent, what charity it goes to. They do the grunt work that we used to do, really that's about it. And that's the way the tournament is being run now. Wendy, when they came in, they saw all these green jackets. And if you look right here, it says GGO. And the kind of money Wendy was paying the golf tournament, you know, they pretty much put a big portion of the purse, which last year was 6.2 million compared to our 5,000 when we started. But when they put up that much money, they had a lot they could sell. First, they didn't like green, their colors were blue. And so we got out of the green coats, GGO green coats, and we all are called Founders Club members now. And I'm not really sure what Founders Club members do. I'm the incoming president of that, and we're still trying to figure out what our purpose in life is. But I mean, we don't do the growing boards, they don't ask us to raise money, so we do, we see the announcers on each hole, and that's us doing that. But other than that, we meet a couple times a year and talk about old times, and it's a whole lot like the Jaycees Old Time Organization. We just talk about things that happened in the past, so we're not really so much a part of the future, but the golf tournament has changed so much. Some new things going this year. You cannot buy tickets for the golf tournament this year and have a ticket and give it to somebody or whatever. You have to buy a digital ticket. So you don't have to buy something. It's going to go on your telephone, and you can put it in your wallet part of your phone, whatever you want to do with it. And I think a lot of the football stadiums and basketball stadiums are going this route too. So they want, when you get to the golf course, you'll show them the telephone. If you have rights for 2 tickets, they will give you 2 wristbands. And the wristbands get you access to walking around the golf course and seeing the golf. So it's a whole lot different. A lot of the courses are doing this. Augusta National, you know, has tents all around there. And as a matter of fact, Joe Bryan was a member of Augusta National in 1982 when I was chairman. And right after the tournament was over in April, he came up to me and said, "You guys need to go to the Masters." And I said, "Well, Mr. Bryan, that'd be great, but I don't actually have a ticket, and I'm not a member of the club." He said, "Not to worry, I am." He gave me 4 tickets. So I was able to take my assistant chairman and 2 other people to go down. Now, unfortunately, the Hartford Jaycees years ago also had a tournament. Their tournament was the Sammy Davis Junior Tournament in Hartford, Connecticut. And they saw what we did at GGO and asked Jaycees to copy us. And so they became the second JC chapter in the country of 42 PGA events. They had an event that they sponsored, and they put the course up and did the same thing as we did. They copied everything we did, and we were happy to ship with it. It was great. And so we built a great friendship with them. And at the Masters that week, they had a free house that CBS gave them because they were on television. We weren't. So we got to stay there for first. But that night, the Hartford guys thought it'd be real cute to take one of our badges and hide it. They forgot they did it. They got up the next morning before we did. I looked up and there were 3 badges on the table, and I'm looking for 4. We couldn't find anywhere. There were no cell phones. You can't call anybody. So here I am stuck at Augusta with 3 tickets and 4 people. Now, what I did notice on the players in the parking lot, they had a black and white contestant sticker that went on the windshield. And And I just happened to have the same kind we used in Greensboro, and our contestants were the same color. So I said, let's just see what we can do. So I took that and wrote right down Magnolia Lane with that bogus fake sticker. And we were riding down there going, man, everybody's always talking about this ride. Well, we did it. And we're all excited, we're jumping up, and we get out of the car, I park right beside Bill Crenshaw. He said, hey, what are you doing in here? He said, shh, we don't get caught, say anything. And so one of the guys was too excited, highway patrolman comes over. He says, guys, let me see your PGA tour credentials. Of course, we have none of those. He said, how'd you get in this parking lot? I said, the lady just directed me here, I just, other than that, I thought it was He still didn't solve the problem. He had 3 tickets and 4 people, so he put me in the car, 1 hour patrolman in front, 1 in back, and me and my car were out of there. And so me, who got the tickets, I can't see the criminals. And so I'm not gonna be intimidated, this is a good word, I'm not gonna be intimidated by that. And so I park in the public lot, and I look at the gate, at Augusta, I'm sure some of y'all did here, they have one entrance with maybe 15 or 20 spots to get through. Now, this was 1982, I don't know what they're doing now. But you couldn't get in there without going through one of these turnstile gates. And I had no ticket. And I just thought I'd follow somebody that might be in trouble. And so one guy had 2 clubs over his shoulder. I said, that's my guy. So now understand, my 3 guys were hiding behind trees watching this to see what I'm going to do to get in. They're just laughing, nobody there to watch it, I'm not. And I was trying to get them to hand me a ticket. They won't let you able to do that. Fancy. So I'm stuck. Anyway, so I followed the guy with the 2 clubs. And he said at the gate, he said, these are legal those clubs. He asked me to regrip them. He said, for me to come in here and do that, and that's what I'm doing. And the turnstile person, these are big people, who look like pro football players, said, you know, buddy, that's been tried so many times, get out of line. I get in line right behind him. I said, I can't believe what people do to get in here. And I said, they did, and I was just right on the ground. But the problem is, I get to the practice green here, and there's Joe Brown. And he's a staunchly, you know, British accent man. He's got the white mustache and the white hair, standing up here, wrapped in his Augusta green jacket, and his emblem on there as a member as number 1. All numbered. He was number 1 out of all the membership. I don't know how he did that. Whether he was the oldest, the richest, or just that much of it. But he was the number 1 that had that. And he looks around, and I'm kind of fiddling around because I'm standing there with no ticket. So I made that conversation just as quick as we could and hid almost everywhere I could so nobody could see me and throw me out. I made it the whole day, which is very lucky. Anyway, that's my Augusta story. But the old timers formed back in 1942 because Jaycees at 35 got thrown out. When you turned 36, you could not be a Jaycee. And they were just like a deer in the headlight. You know, what do we do now? I mean, think about this club. Let's say you can be a member of the Rotary Club here for 5 years, and you got to leave. I mean, you got more energy, you want to do something, you know. And so we said, well, we want to still belong to something. Didn't mean we wanted to do anything, but we wanted to belong to something. So we became old timers. And we had to be an old timer. To be an old timer, you had to be a Jaycee, at least somewhere, not in Greensboro, somewhere before you get in. We had, the Jaycee chapter, when we ran the GTO, had meetings 1,000 people. And, you know, years later, you know, around 20 years, 18 years ago, whatever, the Jaycee membership dwindled down well below 100, like in the 50s. They couldn't run it. They just couldn't do it. And luckily, Robert Long's people in town, Jim Milton got together and agreed to put up some money, and they would make all this work, and that's what had to happen. I mean, the Jaycees just couldn't do it. And the Jaycees didn't run it, they felt just like I did. It was just on us for not helping them maintain what they had, but they just couldn't do it. The tournaments got bigger and bigger and bigger. Not tournament first, and 82 was 300,000, but when you raise it 6.2 million, it's a whole different ballgame. And the PGA tour officials, being Bain's who I work with, but the officials, they don't want to bring a new chairman every year. They don't want to deal with a new president every year. They want the same people on board. That's what they're used to, and they'd rather have that. You got Bobby Bain one year, you got Al Lambert, somebody next. They want to deal with the same people you got here. So they really encouraged all this to happen, and that is what happened. So now the whole timers were, kind of left out in the cold because the Jaycees would give us a spot in the dock room to enjoy it off. Somewhere at Forest Oaks, you know, hole number 12 or 13, that par 5, playing the ball down the bottom of the hill on the right, that was always us. I mean, we can't have lag or whatever, just be stupid, because we had times. Anyway, when the Jaycees lost their position, that was it. So what we did, we got so mad about it, we put some money together, and we bought a house on number 5, 5510 Right. We bought a house for $250,000 just because we owned a backyard party in one night a year. And that might sound stupid, but it's the greatest party house I think out there. We had really enjoyed it. And, you know, we go out there and we have access to the dock itself, because we can carry our chairs down to the landing area number 5, which is par 5 essentially. And we can see them, can't see them off the tee, we can see the ball land, and we can see the pros that come up. And, I mean, the Tiger came through, he was as far as we needed that light right there. And you can't get that on golf courses in some places. And you can watch them on the green, if you have binoculars, you can see them, you got pretty good eyes. But then we come back, watch golf a little while, come back up to this tent we have, and drink a beer, or drink a mixed drink, have lunch. And so it's just a great setting. You're having it's like a high school reunion. The Jaycees that you used to work with years ago. And it was, what your common theme is the fact that you all worked on the GTO. And so anyway, it's fun to be an old timer. That's what's left of the old Jaycees. Dale's in there with us, and left all over. And he was, I think he might have been my treasurer at the GTO, or close to that. I know he was for several years. You get a CPA, but you think you can trust him. But the deal looks pretty honorable, so I think that was all right. You no longer have to be a JC to get into old timers. And the reason we changed that rule is there was nobody feeding into the group. I mean, when your JC chapter in Greensboro it's gotten as small and insignificant as it is now, you have nobody to bring from that group into the old timers. So it's like 10 or 15 years ago, we opened up to non-JCs. So anybody that wants to be a part of that can. And we kind of don't say the word JC old timers anymore. We're just a bunch of old timers. And we have some fairly young people in there, but it's like any Rotary club. You guys like to get the 23 and 33-year-old people in this club, so you don't have a group of old men. Now, my club is probably older than yours is here, the Greensboro club. And when we lose memberships there, usually it's not for them moving or changing jobs or anything else at the time. At certain ages, it's not going to happen. So we lose 3, 4, 5 members every year that way. And we've gone down from 300 members, I think, in Greensboro to close to 200 now. I think COVID had a lot to do with that. I don't know if the membership subcommittee went off through that. I think overall Rotary did some. But our 100 loss was probably over by a 5-year period. But I don't know if we need to be 300. We're just as strong club. 200 is not. To me, there was nothing magic in the number of presidents. I don't care how many members we had, as long as the ones we had were active. If they weren't, why weren't they? And I saw a national Rotary message yesterday. Your group was part of that. It's supposed to be the biggest Rotary meeting ever in the history of the world. Had 20 countries attend. We all did it by Zoom. And the message that I got out of that more than anything else was, don't waste your time on exit interviews with the members when they leave. Have an influence in it. And when the members join, what you want to do is find out what they want to do. Is there a project they want to sponsor that your group can get behind and get them involved right away? Because if they come in here, everybody sits down with them at the table. If they come in here, everybody asks to do anything, at the end of the year, you're going to lose them. And you're going to say, well, what happened to that person? And so it's our own fault if something like that happens. So we can keep our members if we keep them active. I know that has nothing to do with this talk, but I can wear my Rotary hat too as next president. And say that's what we try to do. And we try to get our board members to never sit at the same table. It's impossible sometimes. You got people that won't listen to you. But I always like to sit down and say somebody I've never met or didn't know very well. And not for being a nice guy, but being selfish to want to know that person. If in your club, why don't you sit beside them? If you don't do that, I think you're missing out. And certainly You might not see him next year, maybe here, you know. Well, you don't lecture about all that, but I didn't have anything really planned other than talk a little bit about the history of that book that I passed around. Smith Barrier wrote that. He was, I don't know if anybody years old enough to remember him. He worked for the newspaper for a number of years. And he knew Smith was going to die. And my dad taught me into getting Smith to write that book. And so we took the first 44 years, it was 38 to 82. We did a second book from 82 to 88. And Smith also wrote that. And it was just a year or two later that he did die. And all the pictures and all the words and all that would have died with him. Because I don't live all those stories. He did, because he lived it. And we have not done history since 88. And I talked to Mark Razzle about that. She wanted to sit in Jaycees history. This is a tournament history. I mean, when they hired you, you were the first paid employee the tournament ever had. And he's, if you pull there, I'm going to deal with the numbers, 1120, what's that form you fill out? Is a nonprofit this year?
990.
990, yeah, well, but that number is what you can pull out, and you can see he gets good salary. And he, like his staff, are well paid too. But that's what it takes to run a big time program. I honestly don't think you would put all our Rotary heads together in Greensboro. We have a hard time running something as big as Wind Copper. Anyway, that's about what I have to say. I'm not sure what my timing is. I knew as president they'd get a hook and jerk you out. I think we have 5 minutes to all leave. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah,
Do we have time for questions?
yeah.
Yes, we do.
I remember back when you talk about how it's changed, we'd get index cards of people to call to sell sponsorships and sit on the phone and we could trade. We could say, we'll trade you tickets for cash registers and stuff. And that was so different than the corporate.
The old timers do that now. We need golf carts to get our members, because when you get old, you don't walk very well. And to walk from where we are, at number 5 to the clubhouse, it's a long way. And so we give the guy tickets to our beer stand or our compound out there per se. They can bring his family, come out there and have lunch, watch golf, have a couple of beers with us, a couple of drinks, and he gives us golf carts. So we do the same kind of trading we used to do, because we have that mentality set.
I had a comment in for you. You think about raising that $5,000, that, how many people, how many businesses, how many hotels were in around? I mean, that's a lot of money, but golly, there weren't hardly.
There were a lot. King Cotton was one that put some money in some of the restaurants that went to. got money. It's in that history book. And again, I wouldn't go in these. I wouldn't know any of this. So that written down.
So the question is, there's kind of connection between Sam and the home. Do you know what that was? They have a Sam Street Inn, and I think he grew with it.
Well, Sam was raised around it. So he was raised in West Virginia. I don't know if he was ever further. He was certainly as a local boy. He was well thought of. I'm not sure what title I gave him. He was there too. But Sam was, he won 82 tournaments. But even in his older age, to get him to come down here and not meaning to send a deal away, this was just Sam Smith. With all the money he had, which he had quite a bit, I think, for 12 years. Get him to come down there. We sent up Sam and Frank. Some of you guys might remember, had a plane. So we flew up to get Sam, bring him back down here, and we were going to fly commercial. So we sent a private plane up there to get him to bring him down there. But Sam wouldn't come unless Dad had arranged a $5,000 speaking engagement somewhere. So Dad had to come. Now, this is getting his trophy name to his name. Sam had come in with that $5,000. So Dad had to call Chuck Hayes and say, Chuck, I need 5. And Chuck said, do I need to ask you what it's for, Carson? He said, no, I told you I need 5. Just send me a check. Chuck Hayes and Carson Bain had that relationship, and that's what he did. So they gave it to Sam. I don't think Sam ever spoke anywhere. Without the 5, Sam wouldn't have come. We didn't talk about that back then. I think it's been enough years past. I think Sam would die. It's like $60 million. So I don't know that 5 million.
Bobby, did Sam ever give you a golf ball and sign
I hope I haven't told you this story. When I was about 12, it was the last year they had to get you up here strong. And Sam won. And he won 18 was the last hole, just like he is here now. And when he sunk the last putt, he threw it in the crowd. He saw where I was, threw force, and I ripped two kids. I got it. So I had to win the golf ball, Sam won to get you over there 1 year. That's strong. And what a treasure that would be. I had it. So Sam comes to our house, he signs the ball, and stupid 12-year-old, I put it in my golf bag. I'm playing number 6 here. I'm not a very good golfer now. I was horrible. And by the first 5 holes, I run out all the golf balls. The only ball I had left was Sam's. That's it. I can't play this ball. I lose it. I hit it one time in the woods and it was gone.
If you like it back, I'll tell you.
I like to, you said, go back and tell your 12-year-old student to sell something. What would I tell that 12-year-old? I tell a 16-year-old, don't challenge Sam to a pool match. I tell a 12-year-old, hang on to that top ball. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Well, I've actually been to some of those parties out in Rockingham. Yeah, it's a fun time. We have one last request for you to pull up our Queen Park. You'll read that.
You need the whole thing, the last 3 digits.
Last three, I believe.
Last 3 digits. Anybody got a 5? Anybody got a 4? Anybody feel alive? Anybody got a 0?
Pull another ticket.
There we go.
He'll probably win.
5, 4.
Well, I hope he wins because I gave him his money. If he wins, yes, he will.
How many cards are left?
My pledge is if I win this thing, it all goes to the club.
All right.
That's how it's moving.
Yeah, we don't need it. It's still alive. Oh,
Half the money in there is mine.
Hey,
anyway.
Guy, while you're up here, your pen, your past president.
Great weekend, my friend.